Hello, everybody. Welcome Ilya Friedman, President of Hot Rod Cameras, in our inaugural interview. Thank you for coming.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thanks very much. What we're going to talk about today is kind of the evolution of HDDSLR videography, specifically PL mounts, and adapting these bodies to, in effect, accept pretty much every cinema lens out there in the world from just about any manufacturer. I know that you offer to do 7Ds and 5Ds, and are also working on the 1D Mark IV, and I'm sure every other camera that will come after that.
Well, my company builds custom camera accessories as well as does custom camera modifications, and primarily with a focus on putting cine lenses on the DSLR style cameras. The number one issue that I found when I started to go down this path last year was the lenses. It was very difficult to focus. It was very difficult to work with SLR profile lenses. The witness mark is on the top. When you're working with zoom lenses, the front elements would telescope into the back filters of a matte box. There was all kinds of problems with
all the fun discoveries we made along the way.
Absolutely.
So we've seen all this happening. You know, there are these fads, game changers, etc. Where is this all going?
I've seen pretty much every new technology that's been heralded as the next big thing, and it's going to replace and usurp old technology and become the standard. It does in fact happen. It just doesn't ever happen on the timeline that people say. The DV replaced analog. HD pushed out a lot of 16 millimeter production, not completely, but a lot of it. And then consumer HD changed everything again. And then digital cinema, 2K, 4K, 3D, all of these things have changed the landscape. That being said, I've never seen a groundswell of support of any of these new formats, these new technologies, like with HDSLR cameras. These, since have come into being, have completely been adopted across all facets of this industry in less time than I've ever seen. Big movies, little movies, television series, commercials, music videos, they're either using these cameras as A camera, B camera, C camera, crash camera, or sometimes just as recordable director's finders. I know a Steadicam operator keeps one in his kit, hands it to the director and says, show me what it is that you want to do, and they walk and rehearse the shot, they play it back, and then he goes, okay, and they take the lens off the camera, put it on the whatever the camera, if they're not using that camera, and then they do the take, which is pretty cool.
So let's talk a little bit as to why someone would go and take the next step to go ahead and modify the Canon cameras and add a PL mount. I can go into this by saying that personally, my argument would be zooms. You know, I am of the school that I would much rather, I used to have a saying in photography is zoom with your feet, not with your lens. So I would much rather dolly in or out than zoom. But if you're doing a documentary, or if you are working as a DP with a director who insists on zooming for effect or for versatility, it's just something I think you have to have in your tool chest. That's my version of it. What's your version of it?
I think you're absolutely right. I think zooms are a big part of it. With a PL mount, though, it allows you the ability to work professionally. I'm not taking anything away from cinema lenses mounted with Canon mounts or Nikon mounts or any other mount like that. I think that's a great way to do it, and there is a certain customer out there that is going to be a good solution for them. There are some limitations. You have to make sure that your lenses are shimmed to your camera, or you're not going to get correct focus marks. And that means that you can't share your lenses then amongst other Canon cameras because they're not built with enough consistency to be plus or minus 5 microns that all your focus marks are then going to line up across every camera. You have to shim the lenses to that camera. This mount right here is an EF mount. It's the new Zeiss lightweight zoom lens. It's a great lens. It's wonderful in EF mount. You can use it on all kinds of cameras. You might not think you'd be able to use it, but there is natively a little bit of play. You can hear that click, 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 click there. That's not Zeiss's fault. Zeiss makes great lenses. It's just this mount was not designed for that sort of thing.
One of the mysteries that I've always found, you know, kind of hilarious as a photographer coming into this is this whole idea of flange distance and play, in that when temperatures change, it was a very big issue with certain cameras that on a very hot day, the focus marks were dead on, but the results were completely soft.
There's all kinds of issues that can happen. You can end up with split focal planes if just your lens mount is tightened a little bit too much. You have to be accurate. You have to be accurate with your flange focal depth to plus or minus 5 microns, which is about 2/10,000ths of an inch. It's not a lot of room. If you are significantly outside of that, things can happen. And if you're a still photographer and you're working with still lenses, the easiest way for you to see what I'm talking about is to just click on any lens that you've got right now, focus at one of the marks that are on there, maybe it's 6 feet or 10 feet, and then run a tape measure to see if it really is actually 6 or 10 feet. In cinema production and motion picture production, those numbers have to be accurate. When you're a still photographer, those numbers can be meaningless, and certain lenses tend to be more accurate than others. If your lens is being adapted to a different camera format too, so not all adapters are the same, and they can be wildly out of spec, and if they're too out of spec, you'll find that you can't focus at infinity anymore, or you don't have close focus anymore, depending on if it's well machined or not. When you're working with professional PL mounts, that means that you can set that depth, and when you set that depth, it basically stays where it is.
And like you said, the EF lens mounts were not designed to be perfectly just, locked in because it's just a different use entirely.
Yeah, exactly. The PL is designed to be rock solid and not have those issues. And then if you're going to be compositing or adding visual effects or that sort of thing, you're not going to have these issues where the whole world shifts at a different spot. The way this works is I have a very large piece of aircraft aluminum directly underneath the camera. And this is the hot rod central support unit. This is the piece that I've got right here. I'm not sure which camera can see it, but this piece here, the central support, transfers all the weight from your very heavy, sometimes very heavy cinema lenses, so they can be used on the camera without any risk of damage to it.
And just to be clear for people out there, if you were to put a 100-pound lens on a Canon 5D and screw into the base of the 5D, it would just snap the mount right off. So you've got to support it off of the mount itself.
Yes, and you can actually see here under this camera, this is a 5D, but the support piece here mates inside of this piece here, and it forms pretty much a foolproof bond that transfers the weight from these lenses. Now, thankfully, compact primes and actually most prime lenses for cinema are light enough that you can put them on here and work unsupported, but having that support means you're rock solid.
Yeah.
There's multiple points of contact. You have both the mount and the camera body. So once these two are both locked into place, nothing's going anywhere. Right. Inside the camera, I have to remove the mirror. I have to remove the EOS contacts. I have to remove a fair amount of plastic. I also have to take a couple pieces that are in there and move them out of the way. The good news for my clients is that while this voids the warranty, all my clients have the option of purchasing an extended warranty, which then gives you 2 years and basically covers everything that you get from the original factory warranty, and it's about $200.
Right, so if you send this to Canon, they're saying we're not touching it.
Exactly. But the good news is, too, that even if you don't buy the warranty, because I don't do anything to the electronics in this camera, you could take it to your local camera repair shop, and other than the lens mount area, they could fix anything that might go on with the camera. They could replace the LCD screen. They could do any of the internals with the main circuit. Right. There is nothing that I do that interferes with that. It's purely a mechanical modification.
If you were to modify one camera, would you modify a 7D or a 5D, which is something I'm debating myself?
It really depends on the individual. A 5D looks beautiful. It has a wonderful look. It has a very large sensor. And if you're looking for that large sensor, very shallow depth of field, you can't get that any other way right now. There are no digital cinema VistaVision cameras that you can go out and rent, and certainly there's never been one that's so affordable that you can put a PL mount lens on. The 7D is much more versatile. You can use basically any lens ever made for 35mm motion picture photography on that camera. So it's kind of up to you. It depends on which way you want to go.
But there are zoom lenses out there that will cover the 5D. It's just generally harder to find them
in cine style.
Cine style. That'll work. There is one lens I wanted to show the audience before we finish, which is this ruby lens down here. And if you don't mind going to mount it on the 70, this is actually a lens that's modified from another manufacturer that has been rehoused
Yeah, it's been completely reworked.
Reworked.
Yeah, they changed it so you've got a much longer focus throw. You've got gearing, and it's it's a proper cinema lens after it's gone through this, and it's actually quite small and quite compact. It feels pretty good.
So the reason I'm showing you this ruby lens is twofold. One, it's an incredibly sharp series of optics, and it is modified to work on just about any film set. And it kind of answers that dilemma that one might have, which is the one I'm still debating, which is, do I have my 5D or my 7D modified? And the short answer is the majority of zooms in the cinema world will not cover on a wide angle side a full frame sensor. However, this 14-24 2.8 ruby lens will cover the full frame sensor of a 5D.
Cinema lenses tend to be future-proof. The PL lens mount is not going anywhere. It's been the standard for a very long time. It will continue to be a standard, and I know that there are going to be more PL mount zoom lenses that are coming out that will cover the 5D and large format cameras. Some have been announced, some haven't, but you're going to see, I think, continue to see more lower cost PL mount cinema lenses coming out that are going to give more people the opportunity to shoot with zoom lenses on these little cameras.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, thanks very much for coming.
Hey, thank you very much for having me.
And where should people go to find hot rod cameras?
HotRodCameras.com.
There you go. Thanks, Ilya.
Thanks.